Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose. And I mean, if you needed any more evidence at all that it's no longer Team Xbox, but rather it's Microsoft Gaming, well, we got the scoop today that sheds all of the light that we need, that explains everything that has happened with Xbox these past 2 years. The multi-platform plan, the anti-consumer moves, the price hikes, the studio closures, and yeah, we got the information, and this brings up even more questions. So stick around and we're going to get into all of that, plus plenty more. But first, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go and get right into things, though, starting off with Xbox's newest game being one of the most hyped up RPGs of the generation, being The Outer Worlds 2. This is Obsidian's newest game, and it will fully be out on the 29th. And I mean, they are known to be one of the best RPG studios of all time, so can they deliver on that persona yet again? And, well, yes, they absolutely can. The Outer Worlds 2 currently sits at an 84 overall score on Metacritic with a total of 42 reviews. It's basically being described as an even better version of its predecessor. It's more confident this time around with improved mechanics and expanded gameplay ideas. So, I mean, yeah, if you like the first game, then you're probably going to love the sequel as well. Now, if you haven't played The Outer Worlds, though, the way I would describe these games is that they're kind of similar to the Fallout series, really both in terms of gameplay and also in humor, which they do share some Bethesda DNA. And, I mean, in fact, this is the same studio behind Fallout New Vegas, which has always been a fan favorite. So they took some of that DNA and they put it into a sci-fi universe instead. Overall, though, I am going to say that just in terms of games, Xbox is actually having a really good month right now. That might be a bit overshadowed by some of the recent controversy, and we're going to get more of that today. But with games like The Outer Worlds 2, Keeper, and Ninja Gaiden 4, I mean, yeah, I'd say they've had a fairly strong month, to say the least. Now, speaking of a strong month, let's go and talk about Pokemon Legends EA, as it absolutely dominated Japan during its opening week. Numbers have come in thanks to Famitsu, and it's been reported that Legends EA sold a whopping 1.48 million units in just its first week alone. Now, that is absolutely insane, and just to put that into perspective, that makes it the biggest launch in Japan for 2025. So that means it also beat out games like Mario Kart World and Monster Hunter Wilds, which is a behemoth of a series over in Japan, to say the least. In fact, Legends EA more than doubled the first week of Monster Hunter Wilds in Japan, which really just kind of tells you the strength of the Pokemon series. I mean, Pokemon is the biggest franchise in the entire world, so this shouldn't come as a major surprise or anything like that. But what this does tell us is that they do have a very successful spin-off line that could span multiple sequels itself. We're now in an era where we could have two different mainline Pokemon series, one being the more traditional turn-based combat style of games that we're used to, but we can also have these Legends style of games that Game Freak can use to experiment with just a little bit more. And I think that's actually very exciting as a fan of the Pokemon franchise. I do like the idea of having these two very different takes for the Pokemon series because it keeps the franchise a little bit more fresh. Now, for comparison's sake, though, Legends EA is also selling faster than Pokemon Legends Arceus, though not by much. It's only by 60,000 units, but again, growth is a good sign for a sequel. Also, Legends EA had a profound impact for the Switch 2. The Switch 2 jumped from 46,000 units during the previous week all the way up to 201,000 units sold for the week of Legends EA. And let me just go and say this. This game does look a lot better on the Switch 2 than it does on the Switch 1. The clarity is just so much improved, and I think that does help a lot. Either which way, though, this is a massive launch, and I'm sure Nintendo is very happy, to say the least. Oh, and we also got an update from Mouse PI for Hire. As expected, they gave us another gameplay reveal today with an official release date. Now, I will put the new trailer on screen just because it continues to look really good, but obviously the big news here is the release date, and it will be set for March 19th. Now, I will say, though, that February and March are already pretty packed with games like Resident Evil 9, there's Soros on PlayStation, you have Monster Hunter Stories 3, 007 First Light, High on Life 2, Neo 3, and even Dragon Quest 7 Reimagined. So February and March are already fairly busy as is, and, there's really only so much time that gamers can dedicate, and because of that, I would have preferred a January launch instead. Regardless, though, at the end of the day, as long as it turns out to be a good game, then I think it's going to do just fine in the long run. For independent games, it's really about the quality and word of mouth to sustain success over a long period of time. All right, now let's just go and talk about what's happening over at Xbox, though, because as a lot of you may know, it's been a chaotic 18 months for them and really for fans of the brand as well. I mean, it almost seems like a lot of the things that they've promised to Xbox fans in years past wasn't true. Things like Bethesda was acquired for exclusivity. Phil Spencer made that statement as soon as the Bethesda buyout was approved. But here we are, and for the most part, that has not been the case. However, and I've been saying this for a long time, I don't believe that Phil Spencer and Team Xbox intentionally lied about those things. I firmly believe that all of these 180s that we've seen from them these past 2 years and all of the anti-consumer moves is because people like Phil Spencer and his team have lost control of their own division. In other words, it's no longer Team Xbox. It's officially Microsoft Gaming. The penny pinchers, if you will, and the higher-ups have taken control over the Xbox brand, and they're the ones that are either calling the shots or the ones that are pushing for them. And, well, that was essentially confirmed today. So what's happening here is that Bloomberg posted a big report about what's happening behind the scenes, and check this out. They said that Microsoft is asking its Xbox gaming division to produce profit margins that are well above the industry average, ratcheting up pressure on its video game makers during a difficult time for the field at large. Over the past 2 years, executives at the Seattle-based software giant have set an across-the-board goal of 30% accountability margins. The average profit margin in the video game industry in recent years has ranged between 17 and 22%, according to estimates from S&P Global Market Intelligence, while coming in between 10 and 20% over the past 6 years at Xbox. Court documents from 2023 revealed that Microsoft Gaming business had a 12% profit margin for the first 9 months of the company's 2022 fiscal year. So Microsoft wants them to go from something like 12% all the way up to 30%, which not only is optimistic just for them, but really for the game industry as a whole. From my understanding, the industry hasn't gone past a 22% average since 2018. So with these type of expectations, being well above that average, Xbox has had to do some uncharacteristic things to meet these demands. And one way to do that is to unfortunately cut expenses. In other words, lay off staff and close studios, which has been a common thing for them these past 2 years. They even let studios go like Toys for Bob and Tango Gameworks. Now, thankfully, they live elsewhere, but they were known for high-quality games. And I think that if Xbox didn't have these type of high expectations, then they probably would still have both of these studios on their payroll. Now, with this news, there's also a possibility that they wouldn't have had to cancel certain projects like Everwild and Perfect Dark as two such examples. Now, that's not to say that those games were handled well because, they were in development for far too long. But one of the most interesting things about this report was this statement. It reads, in the past, game makers at Xbox weren't asked to hit specific numerical targets, said the people, and were largely told to focus on making the best games possible without worrying too much about finances. The new target was implemented in fall of 2023 by Microsoft Chief Financial Officer Amy Hood, whose team has taken a larger role in the gaming business in recent years. And that right there is the contrast between Phil Spencer and Amy Hood. And I actually feel really bad for all of the studios that finds themselves in the midst of this shift. I mean, think about somebody like Double Fine as one such example. They just launched Keeper. And that's not some major AAA release. It's more of a game that fits into the Game Pass model and the Phil Spencer mentality. But Amy Hood, she seems to want something very different. And I imagine these studios that are making these type of games are a little bit concerned about that, and possibly even for their future, because if their games don't match what she's asking for, what does that mean for them? I mean, even back during the Xbox One era, Satya Nadella had to be convinced by Phil Spencer just to keep Xbox up and running. And now it's those type of people with that same mentality, the higher ups, that's more or less running the Xbox division. They are pushing for these large changes. Again, it's no longer Team Xbox, but instead, it's Microsoft Gaming. And that's a scary thing. Now, I think Team Xbox is still trying to do what they can for their fans. They're still trying to push for that next generation console. And I think that they have some good ideas given their position. But it does feel like they're facing an uphill battle thanks to Microsoft's upper management and their lack of knowledge for the gaming market. Unfortunately for fans of the brand, that also means a loss of identity to a certain degree. You know, this is the reason for their multi-platform approach, and it's also the reason for all of these different price hikes. It's because Microsoft's involvement. I will say this, though, for all the people that's been blaming Phil Spencer these past few years, yeah, I think that the Xbox division could possibly be in a much worse position if he weren't there. And I'm just going to end on that note. What do you all think about all this, though? Do you think Microsoft is in the right considering they acquired Activision for $70 billion, or do you think their expectations are just unrealistic? Let me hear it in the comments below. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.